And then some are both on VRBO as well as Airbnb.
I'd like to call the iBisbee meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 2019. Stanley Stern is present, Denise Loth is excused, Rob Page is present, Kathy Stalin is present, Carrie Gustafson is present, Stephanie Peavy is present.
Stan Stern.
Stan Stern is present.
How you doing, neighbor? I'm doing just great.
God, I miss you. The guy who's never cut his grass. Lord.
I've been driving, every time I come to town, I drive through the neighborhood.
Oh.
And every time we do that, I look at Kenny and I say, I'll bet Stan's having a heart attack.
Oh, I mean, it's bad.
He's missing your skill set.
It's bad.
It's
Your reading skills.
my reading skills.
Hi Steve, how are you?
I'm good, Fred, how are you?
Welcome back.
See you. It's good to have you.
I got a hug over birds.
How are you?
Good.
Hi, Steve.
Steve.
Got me?
Oh, hi Stephanie, how are you? I've got a card of yours on my desk.
Oh, yeah. We stopped by to find you today. Yes.
I'll give you a call,
Yeah, okay.
well, either tomorrow or Monday, or Tuesday.
That's great.
Awfully nice having you. How you doing?
How have you been?
Pretty good.
Good. I'm totally disrupting this meeting. So I already talked to the mayor, so I'm gonna go home now.
Take care, Steve. Say hi to
I knew my best friend was here,
Right.
so I just had to.
Yeah, I miss you, neighbor. I miss you.
Well, hey, we miss you too, but don't call me.
I need to listen to all this.
I left everything on my desk.
We'll see you all
Carrie said he's
later.
covered.
Yeah.
Carrie said he's
Okay. We're call to the public. Everyone's here to call the public. I've also invited Jennifer Lurie, there she is, hi Jen, to sit in our meeting, and Fred is sitting in our meeting because we're spending a good bit of time talking about tourism. A series of minutes. The way we do the minutes, just so you know, Nina takes the first crack, then I look at them and I make some changes, and then we finalize the minutes. So I'm going to ask for a full motion on the approval of the January 16 minutes, the January 29 minutes, the February 14 minutes, February 20th minutes.
So
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good. Now we'll move on to item 5, which is discussion of the Trails Project and updates of contacts with the Bisbee bicycle community and the Tucson bicycle community. Stephanie, the ball is yours.
Okay. Well, the bicycling had a lot of data in it, and I have a little report. It's probably more than we want, but once I get
No,
on
we
data.
want a full report.
Okay, once I get working on data, I go crazy, so here we go. There.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah, you will, sure. You got one day.
there was a lot of information on bicycling, and here's what I got. Hiking is all Fred and Jen, you can maybe fill in some gaps that I couldn't get. That's hiking. All right. Pass that around. Okay, let's start with the bike. Now, in town, we had Vermont Bicycling Tours, I think they're still here.
Yep.
They, and the other one is PAC, Pacific Atlantic Cycling. They host tours in the Bisbee area for approximately 6 weeks out of the year. They usually run from Monday through Saturday. The cost per rider, they charge between $1,200 and $1,500. The other group that's
Does that
here,
include hotel?
we'll get to that. Yes,
Okay.
yes, it does. Okay. Then there's the GABA, the Nonprofit Greater Arizona Bicycle Association. That's a nonprofit, and they host. It's coming up this weekend. A ride Sonoita to Bisbee with a stay overnight at the Copper Queen, and so they do bring people in to stay in Bisbee. Okay, now the tours are doing day trips for the most part. And I talked to the guy at VBT and asked if they had any partnerships or links with any of the merchants or lodging people in Bisbee, and they don't. And they don't seem to be interested in that. But the exception is GABA, because they do host their people and keep them over here. The VBT and the PAC keep their people at San Pedro House, interestingly enough, and then they bring them here to do their day trips. So they have to transport them rather than have them stay in Bisbee.
San Pedro House is a bed and breakfast on the San Pedro River.
Casa, actually, they stay at Casa de
Casa-
San Pedro.
Yeah,
They
it's
do, okay.
it's beautiful,
Casa de
Stanley,
San
it's
Pedro.
beautiful.
Yeah, but they have to transport them here to,
Because
Well,
they're on the west
so-
side of the river.
I'm not, it's unclear to me whether they do bike rides around here,
yes.
because they come into Roca on Sunday nights, we have a contract with them.
Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah, and they come in, they're bussed in for dinner and then they bus back. Rod used to go out there and do stuff for them,
Okay.
but I don't know that that's not just a stop on the route. I don't know that they're headquartered for a certain amount of time at Casa de San Pedro.
Yeah, the guy I talked to at BBC had said that they transport them here for the day routes, and then I know all the routes that they do, the very common road biking routes.
Okay.
They have several and those range from 40 to 70 miles with options for people who don't want to go that far. This is interesting, 40% of the people now are using electric bikes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Cycles?
Wow. Yeah, so that's a trend that's changed.
I guess if you get older,
I know, and here's the demographic.
I like that one.
Yeah, but that's easy.
So I talked with Ken to find out if he's getting any benefit from this and what he knows about it. Ken Wallace of Bisbee Bicycle Brothel, and he said that he has tried to coordinate with the organizers. He's agreed to open up early and stay open late, and he says he's not seen nothing but a trickle of people who use his business and come into business. So his conclusion is that they're not promoting me. Even though they said they would, they're not promoting me. So he's
What does he do?
He has a vintage bicycle shop, and he also sells bicycle gear, bicycle t-shirts. It's a bicyclist dream, really.
You walk in there and you get the history of bicycling in Europe and
It's
the United
fascinating.
States.
You know, I have a friend coming down this weekend through GABA.
Yeah, that's
Somebody from
what
San
he is.
Diego, and she's riding in, but she doesn't get in until almost dinner time Saturday, and then she goes back to Sonoyta the next day.
Right.
So there's not a lot of time to go shopping.
No, but they don't. Yes, because
You
they're
know.
going on a loop.
Yeah.
That's their big one. But the thing with GABA is there's a potential for getting those people to come back because they're stopping here. They stay overnight. They stay overnight at the Copper Queen. So.
She's staying at Gin Club Suites.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
they got that, they changed that from what they told me. So, on any given tour, they are coming into Bisbee to get their coffee,
Now, how
But they-
often do they come to
and
business?
6 weeks out of the year.
Okay.
Now, here's the demographic. Typical road cyclist is a 42-year-old male,
Okay.
college degree, household income of 81,000 or more. Of all, going over all, a quarter of them have 100,000 or more. And they're motivated by fitness, scenery, social factors. They like group rides, they participate in them regularly. The reason women are concerned because they're nervous about streets and highways primarily. And they also don't like the technical aspects of having to change a tire, getting stuck out there. So I think it's like 15% of the riders are women. When I was leading bicycle tours in Maine, multi-day ones, it would be typically the man who signed them up and made the wife come along, often begrudgingly. So here's the other interesting thing. The booming cycling trend of gravel grinding. Have you heard of that, Rob? Okay. Now that is going crazy in popularity.
Well, what is that?
I'm gonna tell ya.
Some of the students.
I'm going to tell you. This is riders going on rough roads, largely dirt and gravel, but it's not mountain bike roads. For an example, one of the gravel grinding routes would be classified as a gravel grinder would be Juniper Flats. It's wide enough, it's rideable, but it's off-road. It's off-road. You don't have traffic for the
High
most
Lonesome
part.
Road's another one.
Pardon?
High Lonesome Road.
High Lonesome. The
I used
other
to do
one
that
I
when I
like.
was on road with my son.
Gold Gulch is full of good rideable roads that would qualify as gravel grinding. What's another one that I like to do?
If you don't get shot at.
The Chiricahuas, that could be promoted as another easily. Montezuma Pass, that's a really good one. It starts up at the monument in the national park there, and it goes to Parker Lake. It's 23 miles, and that's all on good gravel road. It's not like you're having to walk your bike over boulders or that kind of thing. But that's only a few. Like Rob mentioned, then you go to the Chiricahuas and you've got a ton more. There's great potential to promote gravel grinding. But the interesting thing is that it's appealing to road cyclists, and the trend is that they're doing both. Because all you have to do is switch over your tires to make it a little more knobbier and wider to be able to go on the gravel. So it's not a big deal to go from one to the other. And that's what's typically happening, is that it's not two separate groups, it's the same group changing over to this other,
Now, are
you know.
there groups such as the groups that you pointed out earlier
There aren't
that are
any,
sponsoring road grinding?
not in Bisbee, not that any that come in Bisbee. There are gravel grinding tours, mostly on the East Coast. But to date, there hasn't been any tour group that has.
This is where the Freeport Upper Queen roads would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
But we don't have gravel.
It's just dirt roads. and as I said, it appeals to the same demographic group, same riders. It's not technical like mountain biking. So it actually attracts more women because you're getting them all, you don't have to worry about traffic. And it also attracts more families because it's safe and quite doable. So I think that is an untapped resource that needs to be looked at. Overall, I think the whole bicycling thing has great potential. And then I list some recommendations for what I think. But one of the things, shoot, I forgot. There's a book I have called Cycling Southeast Arizona. There is one listing for Bisbee. It's the Hereford Loop that goes down 92, loops around Palomace and comes back. That's the only one. And there's dozens more. The rest are around Tucson. So we're just not getting promoted very well. Then I think that there should be something pulled together about best in Bisbee gravel grinding. A simple pamphlet that has maps, or even a website that has GPS.
And who would you distribute that to?
The tourists, when they come in, here you go. Or just have it available to them. I put them in bicycle shops in Tucson, here, up in Phoenix even, bicycle shops. That's where cyclists go for most of their stuff. Anyway, I'm wondering about the possibility for establishing a greater relationship with VBT and PAC. But you've had success with that, right, Fred? In working with them?
I sent them an email and suggested that they open an office in Bisbee.
You know,
I did not get a response. But
I know, I kind of got kind of terse responses that
I'm
they.
in contact with the people in Vermont.
Yes, the big guys, yeah, I was talking to the organizers here. The biggest thing I think should be done, Adventure Cycling Association, that's a national nonprofit organization. It's widely read by cyclists, and they promote a quarterly magazine. It's the widest read cycling publication in the US. And I think the biggest opportunity here, they take unsolicited manuscripts and review them. And what they're looking for are stories about cycling. And if someone could write a story about Bisbee, cycling in Bisbee, get some good pictures, good sidebar, that would be dynamite. The distribution is to all cyclists, and probably the best promotional tool that they can get.
I really like your suggestions, but all of them will take someone to do it and money. So what are your
Absolutely.
suggestions for that? That's where we fall apart.
I agree. I'm saying, well, it has to be, this would be not something, I'll do it. But I'm sure this would be recommendations that I think should be looked into and look at the feasibility of it. I didn't do the feasibility.
Where does this take money?
Well,
Website
pamphlets.
design, pamphlets.
Yeah, but that's not a
printing.
lot of money. I mean, that's minimal.
You know, I think that cyclists are really, have a lot of camaraderie and they love their sport. And I think it would be easy, just like the hiking, to get them to GPS and map their routes that they like, their favorite ones.
Stephanie, you probably don't know Doug Dunn, who was the former liaison to the committee, former council person.
Yeah, I know
Doug outlined a 50-mile bicycling route that took people out 80, High Lonesome, over to.
Davis Road.
What, the Davis
Davis
Road,
Road, yeah.
back across 80, down by this, what's it, cement plant or limestone
Yeah.
plant, down the border and back again,
Yes,
back through Warren and stuff. If I can dig it out, I'll send it.
I have it, I've done that.
You do have that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's.
Because that to me, that there's a little bit that needs Freeport, but I think most of that is publicly accessible.
Yes, it is. The problem with Davis Road is travel. I don't know why there's so much traffic, but there's so many semis coming down. It's rather intimidating.
I think that's- I think that's
It's
kind of
scary.
What?
Scary.
It is, you've
I
done
was
it
there
too,
2 weeks
right?
ago. I was just
It's like,
no.
get me out of here. It's not a fun ride.
There's not enough shoulders.
that.
Yeah, there's not enough shoulders.
No, there's enough shoulder on that road.
Should be modified then in some.
So,
I
so
didn't
we,
put it in here.
we need a person who can write an article for the ACA magazine, as well as a person who can create a small brochure about cycling in Bisbee to be placed in the cycling stores in Tucson and Phoenix, as
Mhm.
well as Sierra Vista and
Yeah,
wherever
But
else.
to do that brochure cycling Bisbee, don't you have to have some trails on there?
Yeah, well, we have to back the trails, wouldn't we?
So you
And
need
it
someone to
really
do
should
that
be,
too.
and it really should be a high
I mean, this is
quality.
really great, but we get to this point, and then it's,
Somebody should do this.
yeah.
Now, wait, our problem is you're bringing us to the threshold.
That was, yeah. That's,
Now,
that was my
Well,
job.
it's basically the end of the pier, you just push it and watch it drain.
that was your assignment.
That was my
That's exactly-
assignment.
Exactly right, and you've done a good job. Now, the question is, how do we walk from the threshold to do it?
Well, I think that would take a brainstorming group to figure out what are the resources and how do we do it.
There's a lot of people in town that cycle. I mean, it just seems to me that there's some
You can pull
low-hanging
them
fruit
together.
there, yeah.
And Tucson, I know they come here, but we just haven't tapped into them. And that Tucson, tour to Tucson, he is a big promoter of cycling and he would help us, I know. God, his name. Do you remember his name?
That's the true Tucson guy.
Yeah, he's big.
He's resigned, the CEO.
Did he?
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
because there's
The,
financial problems. Not irregularities, but
Who got
problems.
that, that I had that death?
okay, but, wait, I wanna stay on topic for a second here, because I wanna pull this across the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm seeing is an opportunity for our hotels, if we do it properly, and for our restaurants, as well as for our stores.
Yes.
How many people do you think come down?
Gosh, there's 20 in a group. They're running for 6 weeks. What I'd like to do is interview or do a quick survey and see, do you ever plan to come back sometime on your own to visit Bisbee? Or how many other people do you tell about this wonderful trip you've been on to get that kind of a thing?
Do we have a writer on the city staff? David?
No.
No?
I write for a broker. It's all humorous stuff.
That's what we need.
Could you take a crack?
I could take a crack at it. I was
Could you
thinking
take,
about
could you,
it.
could you take a crack at
Freelance
at
article.
first something
Yep.
to go into the bicycling stores in Tucson, Phoenix, and Sierra Vista? Green Valley probably has bicycling stores.
You know, there's a couple
Well, it should
of,
go in the rack in your place too, the
Mhm.
rack that I go up in there. Yeah.
there's a couple of local bicycling magazines that would take that too. That would be,
Well, wait a minute, there's one thing we can do
Yeah.
that would just be time, and that would be writing that freelance story and getting it out.
Right, that's the first thing.
mm-hmm.
The other takes money.
Well, but it doesn't take a lot of money. I mean, this is not, I mean, we're under $1,000 to do something. That's pretty cheap. I mean, if we're gonna say we can't spend money, we may as well leave. I mean, because the reality
everything
is, to
costs
make
money.
money, you have to spend some money.
To me, I'm thinking that gravel grinding. I have done a lot of it. I'm not knowing I'm gravel grinding.
I think that's really good, because once the Freeport Trails ideas, whatever they're doing with the Clean Mind Tour Foundation, that's probably gonna feed into it too, so I think that's a really strong piece.
I do too, and I think there's so much potential. Don't
Well,
we?
isn't the railroad bed gravel riding?
gravel grinding, oh,
That would be,
that would be good.
Prescott Valley's done that with the railroad beds.
Well, that's what Freeport's talking about.
Yeah,
But
Do you wanna take a first crack at this?
yeah, yes, I will. This will take me a couple of weeks, because I wanna get the best, most scenic. Montezuma Pass is really pretty,
oh, it's gorgeous.
isn't it?
It's gorgeous.
It's close enough.
But
It's
so is
easy
High
to follow.
Lonesome too, in a way.
Do you know what it is?
And High
It
Lonesome
is.
has the J.A. Jance behind it.
You know what, I'll do that. I haven't written that for a long while, but it is.
I haven't done it in years, but
And the
my
other
son and I
thing
used to go out there
Okay,
bicycling until he wanted to learn how to
I
drive.
wanna move on, because you've also got a hiking trails too.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, so you're gonna take a first crack. For our next meeting, you wanna bring down a rough draft, and then we'll take it from there?
Well, you know, I can promise you that at least I will have researched
That's a
what
month.
trails should be, what should be featured. So, I mean, that takes some time to research
So
things.
you're basically gonna start by identifying some trails. That's
Yes.
a great
And
place to
then
start.
I'll talk with others.
And then you can write about it, and then
Yeah.
you can do the promotional stuff. You gotta know what you're promoting.
We
Exactly.
gotta
Perfect.
get the trails on.
And it's gotta be scenic, and
Yes.
you have to have professional quality photos with it.
I would give you maybe about 2 months, because it's gonna come really pretty.
You're right, so I can research it now.
Right.
And then in the
we'll
And
spring,
then
shoot
take
it.
some pictures
yeah.
I
And
would,
when it's pretty and blooming and.
you know, you could probably do a couple of them. I love writing up Juniper Flats, and it's one of those, boy, I did Juniper Flats.
I've been hike up there a lot, but I
I'd be
used to hike up there a
careful
lot.
of including something up there.
It's the county, yeah. I
Well, it's
know.
the county and it's people that live up there are already
Yes,
fighting a development up there.
you're right, Fred, that would be,
Gotta be kind
that would
of
have to be
careful of that.
disrespectful of
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, it should be places that are habited.
Okay,
So, okay.
let's get on to hiking trails.
You know what, I'm gonna borrow.
We know where we are with hiking.
I didn't copy it. Okay, this was all over the place. It's fragmented, it's hard to pull together. So many people say they've started it, but I haven't. Fred, remember when we were trying to get something going with the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
So it's all over the place, and I had a hard time finding people who had really done things.
Well,
Now,
some
Ann-
high school students did some hiking trail little thing, but there were a lot of complaints I heard about it.
Well, this is what I found. So if you do Go Arizona, they advertise guided hikes with the iBisbee Guided Tour Company. That's the golf cart people. So I talked to them.
They're gonna be doing
They've never
brain
led a hike.
surgery next week.
It's not a good website, but they've never led a hike. Then there's the Discover Bisbee website, and Jen, you can supplement this. All I found there was the only listed hike was the town walking tour. And then there's a website called All Trails. That's very popular among hikers. It charges a nominal fee, and this one is a very sophisticated, informally done trail mapping. People submit their trails and a description of it. It's GPSed. You get a map of it. It has all the details of it. It even rates it for moderate, beginner. And-
Just an update, the walking tours of the architecture and stuff, they're all gone.
I thought so too, but it's still there. It's listed. So, okay, All Trails is a very good resource for people who are looking for it. Any hiker would know All Trails to look there. The other one, I hadn't ever used this before. It's called Map My Hike, and there's a website, Map My Hike, and it lists hikes from all over the country. And you have to have this app on your iPhone or your Android. You download their map of Map My Hike, and you can follow these maps. And they've got 25 hikes, and they are Bisbee hikes. They're not the Huachucas or the Chiricahuas. And they range in distance from 1.3 miles to 9.95. For example, one of them is a hike up to the Bee. That's very popular. And
That's
Right.
illegal, isn't it?
I couldn't promote that because it wasn't,
It's
it's
Yeah,
not.
that's private property.
well, this
So
is the
many hikes they
thing.
can promote.
These were listed between, 2013 to
We don't receive the
2017.
Z word.
So they'd have to be a recon on that. But that's a really good resource. So you get it, you follow it, you just start following these trails. All Trails does specify, this is an invalid trail because it's going on public, BLM or something. So they're very conscientious about that. Okay, then if you Google it, you'll get 20 additional sites that say Bisbee hikes, and what they are giving you are hikes in the Huachucas, Patagonia, and Chiricahuas. They're not giving you Bisbee hikes. So it's hard, but here's the interesting thing. So I was trying to find people who have done any work in this, and I met a young woman, Megan Connolly. Has anyone?
Yeah,
She is
I
amazing
just
young
talked to her
woman.
the other day. Yeah.
Amazing. And she is hell-bent on getting bicycle trails around the whole city. And she has done some real legwork. She's got herself a 501c3. She's forged relationships with Freeport-McMoran, the county. And she showed me this map that blew me away. She said, I got this from Robert. And it's a map. It's called Hikes in Bisbee. And it's Freeport. Freeport did the mapping.
Yeah.
Have you seen
But they
that?
won't share it with anybody.
I said, where do I get this? And she said, well, I think I can get it on the web. It's publicly available. But I thought, where has this been hiding? So we have to get that. I just learned this yesterday, and I would have gone.
We can certainly get it, because I got her name from Robert Quintanar. And then when we checked, we learned that she was taking a respite from doing this. And then we got the name of Anna Marie Flanagan.
Well, I talked with her,
That's the
and her project is getting
The
a
walking
trail
trail.
around the Melody Lane buildings. It would be extensive. I think she told me the mileage was planned to be around 6 miles and include exercise stations. But that was more for the employees in the
But it's
community.
open to the community,
Yes,
so, yeah.
to the community. I'm not sure how that would be expanded. It could be. She seemed amenable to, well, if you build some more trails, they can hook into ours. But that her focus is really on that particular area. Now, Megan, when I talked with her, she's very eco-conscious. That's her motivation. And she said, I really don't want to publicly divulge a lot of my work yet because I don't have it.
That's what she told me, she wasn't ready, because
Well, I did-
I called at Stan's request to invite her to one of our
Yeah,
meetings.
she wasn't keen on that, although she did give me permission to present it here.
Okay, good.
So we're gonna go.
So there's this
Gosh.
thing that exists out there.
It's just early in the process from
Right.
what she was telling me, so.
But that map, I should be able to walk into Freeport and it's publicly available.
Well, we can make a call and get the map.
And it's a nice map, it's glossed and easily read, but that blew me away because that work's already been done, and it's good to know it's already been done rather than try to duplicate it. But these other
But I have
ones,
a question with this, I don't.
Jen, do you know her? Jen, do you know
Megan?
me? Are you familiar with her project?
No, I heard them talking outside the coffee shop about, and I thought they were gonna incorporate running too, so now
yes, but
she's a big runner.
Megan and I talk often. She emailed me this morning for another meeting. And she and I had a meeting with ADOT set up, and then ADOT had a bridge go out in Morenci. And
Your meeting got canceled.
well, the meeting got canceled. They routed traffic through New Mexico from Morenci because of that bridge out. So it got canceled and it'll be
200 miles.
rescheduled. But that did include also their earlier promise to me about a bike path around the pit.
Bike path around the pit,
yeah.
because they're gonna have to resurface that fairly soon.
Right.
It's gonna
Megan
be-
said, though, she was looking at going more over land rather than around.
But she
the
wants
pit.
that,
Yeah.
that,
She wants it off-road.
you have to get from Old Bisbee to
Warren.
Yeah, it's
to
hard to
Warren,
get
and that's,
Right.
that's the way to do
She
that.
seemed to think it would, she'd go up and over somehow. Because she said she didn't want to ride with her little girl around the pit.
On the traffic, that was her motivation. And she did say she wanted primarily a bike trail with each side being a kind of a dirt path for runners. So it's a multi-use trail that she envisions.
Yeah.
But she's done a lot of legwork.
Yeah, Eric's the stair climb winner every
Has
year.
she,
I know.
have you talked to her about how she's gonna publicize this?
Nope, she hasn't gotten that far. Nothing has really been done, except that she's connected with the right people. She's not just saying, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, she's really done some work.
I'm wondering, I don't remember how this all worked, but it was a high school guy that did this little fold-out glossy thing he wanted us to sell in our store. And a bunch of us sold it because we thought, oh, he's a high school kid, we'll help him.
Yeah.
And then people were,
Got mad.
complaining about it. And we talked about this before, about the sensitivity of residential areas.
Yes.
Oh, it was-
And so I think whatever we do, we need to keep that in mind. I think it's easy enough to deal with, but just going up and talking to people about what they feel about where they're living. I mean, we were doing that today with the Arts and Culture District signs, looking at the street sign that's right in front of someone's house, and I'm like, if I lived there, I wouldn't want this there. And then a guy came out and he goes, well, I don't care, but I'm moving. I'm like, okay. But
Well,
it's our sensitivity.
I agree, and most hikers.
One of
don't want
those
to see
hikes was
houses.
that Zacatecas hike, and that's what everybody got all bent out of shape.
Well, they're going up to the shrine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we
that's
have,
not-
the
we have to be
Queen was
careful.
in
But the
now.
one I couldn't find, is supposed to be on the web, is try to figure out
But
what
going to the shrine is
hikes
also
in
going to
Bisbee.
private property.
Okay.
I had the same challenges that everybody else did. It's back when I brought up the idea of these trails, the trail idea. We've been hiking the trails for 20 years. Nobody's ever confronted
You
us
have a
on
good
the
shot?
trail. Nobody's ever talked to us on the trail except for other hikers. No homeowner has ever said a word to us. In fact, some of them have said, hey, you should go this way, it's shorter. If anything. So when All Trails came out, I bought the app, and then I mapped every trail in the area. Every single one, and I put in comments and.
Were you one of the contributors?
Yeah. Suzanne and I did every trail, and we said, okay, fine. Now it's out there. The maps are there. They're available to anybody that knows all trails. So we don't have to make a map.
No, you don't, and
It's
if
done.
if it could be,
But it's frustrating when people say, well, you know, I appreciate and I respect people's property up there, but nobody's ever up there. I mean, 20 years we've been hiking these trails. No one has ever.
let me see which one this is.
This is the back. I call it the back trail.
But the question is,
Does it go up Zacatecas?
No, it goes back.
Oh, yes, yep, that's a
From
nice,
High
that's a
Road.
long
High
one.
Road.
Yeah.
guys, how do we turn this in? We've been talking about trails for 3 years, Fred.
No.
We've been talking about trails. Now it's
Back when
time.
we were young enough to walk them.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of us with our canes. Now it's time to take it and move it to a point where we have trails and we have signage and things like that for people that want. And we can then
Or places.
publicize that Bisbee is a wonderful place for trails, staying overnight, using our restaurants. Remember, our whole goal here is to promote the city and promote business in the city, which then brings us more sales tax. So that's where we're headed. So now the question is, you've developed a contact. David obviously knows Megan also. And she's obviously working on this. And we need to stay in touch. She wants to keep this close to the vest, I guess,
Yes, that's what she told me.
at this point.
But I
Does she
did,
want to monetize this in some way?
she would like me to help her write grants. She's got a 501c3.
She'd like you to help her write grants, so it's more than
Like me to
just a
write
casual
grants.
visit.
In your spare time.
Yeah, it's a spare time.
And it's hard, if she's looking for being paid to do this, it's hard to find that kind of
I
money.
know, she's already put in, she said about 150 hours. And, but she's determined. If anyone was gonna pull this project off, I bet by,
Megan did plastic bags too. I mean, Megan is an environmentalist.
yes, very, very.
She's heavy into this sort of stuff.
She was one of the
Do
primary
you know her,
that
Rob?
got the Gold
Yes.
Dust shooting gallery stopped.
Wow.
Well, the other piece that I
I
think.
I remember that well. This art walking across the street.
Yeah.
These two are linked, the bicyclists and the hikers. Would be, I think, under the umbrella of outdoor adventures. Because I can assure you, and Rob, I bet you'll back me up, those hikers might want to go for, bikes, might go for some long bikes for a couple of days, but they're gonna want to get off that bike, and they're apt to go for a hike. Don't you think, Rob?
Yeah.
They go,
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't an easy way to start be to take some of this stuff that could be put on our Discover Bisbee website,
yes.
create a page that's outdoor adventures, and at least, that's pretty cheap to do. If
I
we
mean,
had
it's the
somebody to
first
do
step.
it.
But we don't even,
I have this.
But, we could, instead of printing things, we could first put them on the website.
Oh, that's what we need.
Because people go, do you have any, do most people go there? I mean, I always go to the city website when I go
Okay,
someplace.
that's just.
You know.
We have,
I think maybe start a list for the incoming tourism director of things to do. That would be one of the things to do, because there's nobody that can do it right now.
Right, but I mean, we could get the maps put together and kind of pull all the resources together.
Yeah,
you know.
to get it ready, yeah.
I mean, in the interim, Bridget and I have access to the site still.
Right.
We could definitely make any kind of
Right.
changes to it and add things to it, so that way there's something going on.
we can actually mount it without a tourism director.
We can, technically.
They spread the word.
Well, these guys are the graphic artists, so.
I know.
Everything that has anything to do with outdoor adventure.
Well, I think the thing is, you could start small, just our website should have the links to all trails, and
Right.
that might hike, and, you just don't have
I
a lot
guess
of bicycle
We
trails.
weren't really doing that before because it would link to a lot of private properties, and so that's why we
Yeah, we
didn't
don't
do it
know
for
that.
the city.
Yeah,
But that was our limitations, so
Which
I
is
don't
why I
know.
created Adventure Bisbee.
so I'll link
Just
to
as a,
Adventure Bisbee.
just as a Facebook page with links to all trails and to VBT and these other guys.
That's it right there, you've
And
done
so the
it.
whole idea was to create a place where people, when they have questions about Adventure Bisbee, can go and drop in.
So couldn't we just link to the
So is it a
trails
Facebook
that
page, Adventure
were
Bisbee?
not on, you know, I mean, if we looked at the trails and picked ones out that maybe didn't cross private property and,
That would be the easiest, 'cause
Excuse
you
me,
don't
what
know.
is this Adventure Bisbee site?
Back when I had trouble getting anybody to buy into my trails idea, I created a Facebook page called Adventure Bisbee. And I linked it to the guys in Tombstone who do the climbing. So there's a couple of guys in Tombstone that I know that climb. And they said, well, let's link our guys to your guys. Anybody interested in Adventure in Bisbee, we'll link them to Adventure Tombstone, and we'll just create a little triangle. So we linked them to M&M Cycling in Sierra Vista. And so now whenever they do their rides, we post the rides. It's just social networking. It doesn't have a lot of traction. There's like 380 people that follow the site. But I don't know how many cyclists there's more than that.
But it could
Would
be-
be helpful to put a link on the city website to that Facebook
And then,
page.
talk to Tucson
I
and.
created it just to see if there's any possibility of traction. Because I know Discover Bisbee would have a hard time putting all trails on there because it would take people
Right.
on private land. And then
Yeah.
I've been chided by Freeport for painting the bee
Uh-huh.
without permission.
That was you?
Yeah. We painted the bee a couple of weeks ago, and Robert, first thing I get from Robert is, I didn't see a pass from you in my office.
When did you paint this?
This is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
it was,
Yeah, we
it was
coordinated with them.
disappearing.
Yeah, it was part of this,
Yeah.
it was for when I first got on the committee, that's the first thing you get
First
to
thing
do.
we
Yeah,
coordinated.
you wanna be on this committee,
Yeah.
paint that bee.
Jen, what do you think? Can we add something to our website?
Yeah, I think, well, especially if we were sensitive to the ones that weren't really going to be
Yeah.
public property. But I think most importantly for this entire project, if it's really advertised, I don't really think it should be advertised within Bisbee because the residents really freak out. And it's never the point where there'll be droves of people hiking that, like, you don't see that, and I don't think you're gonna see that. But if we advertise outside for those interested in coming in, we all know the trails personally. But I think the residents will be they see this and they get really scared, thinking it's gonna be overrun like a stair climb, and it's not gonna be necessarily. So I think that's just really, to be sensitive about, I think is really important.
But
Can
could you
we-
link right into Rob's thing that he's already done rather than?
But you know something that Hysteria for Zacatecas Canyon could have been because of its connection with the stair climb.
I think what we need to do here, though, yeah, we don't need to get into a fracas. I mean, that's the last thing we need to do. But I think we need to begin to put out that there are hiking trails in Bisbee. And I think that our good website, we can at least point to it there. And then can we, on that website, can we give them a connection to Rob's website? That would make some sense to start out with.
Okay.
And at least we then made that first move.
Right.
Now, secondarily, obviously, if Megan wants you to help her write grants and things.
But she doesn't, yeah.
Did you feel you had good rapport?
Oh, yeah, I'm 100% behind her. The problem is she doesn't have a project yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Give us money, this is fun, but, or this is useful for the community, but there's nothing like, we're gonna start here, we're gonna go this far, we're gonna do that. So she doesn't have that fleshed
Do you
out.
know what kind of money she needs?
Oh, God.
She doesn't know,
She
she doesn't know,
know.
Stan. She's not at that point, she's really not.
It's really early. I don't
It
think
is.
this is something that,
Yeah.
I think we ought to just go back and check in on her in 6 months.
She's gonna
Okay,
take her and
okay,
talk.
okay, all right, that's a good idea, thank you.
And some of the low-hanging stuff, though, is just creating an outdoor adventures page. We could also create a family fun page, you know,
So
and,
many pages can be created.
well, but you know what I'm saying, because there's stuff here that we're not, like, we've got the pickleball courts, we've got bocce ball.
So
For
now we've
people
got
my
that stuff.
age, those are nice outdoor adventures.
But at this point, what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna put it on the Discover Bisbee site, link it to this site.
Now, my only thing is, when we do something like this, is linked to a private Facebook page. This opens the door then to other
Yeah.
things, so I don't, maybe consider
But
that.
also, who's gonna put it on the city Discover Bisbee site?
Because of course,
Jen just said she would do it.
well, Bridget or I could go
Yeah.
log into the background and do it. Hopefully it'll only take a few minutes. Because then we
If
want
not,
money.
yeah.
Because then, it never does. It's never that fast.
No, it's
or
never
easy.
quick.
Um,
And then people wanna change it 15 times.
Right. So I'm just saying, if you were considering linking to a private Facebook page, that's just something like now, somebody's gonna see that and say, well, I've got these two. Happens every
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So I
you're
just maybe
right.
just think about that before we do that, because
Yes.
I don't want that to be, open the door to so
I,
many
couldn't
things.
we possibly look through all of the maps available, determine one or two hikes that aren't on private property that we could replicate somehow on our site,
We could pull them from all trails.
you know? That would probably be the safest.
So complete.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
feel like your
It is.
Facebook page is probably amazing, but I just
I
know it's gonna open the door to
Yeah.
so many
Okay,
other
no,
things.
you know, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's quite blunt,
You're right,
exactly
that's
why
setting
you're
a
here.
precedent.
See, what the link would be is if this Megan Conley has created a 501c3, that's where you do the link.
Yep. Eventually, when it gets to that
Yeah.
point, but for now,
But
they
that's
can
way
fill it
down, yeah.
and link to a couple of these, at least to get it started,
Mhm.
for sure. And then whoever's is into the position of tourism can look in the background and see who's clicking on that. How, is it popular? Is it being used even?
Mhm.
You know.
What do you think?
Get moving on.
Well, that, I think, yeah,
Mhm.
as I said, this is fragmented. The one thing that I would like to take on, you've seen the Tucson map, right, Tucson? And it's a simple map. And I think it would be easy to put together a fold-up brochure you can put in your pocket of iBisbee and those popular rides that are safe, they don't go on anybody's property, and just even have 4 or 5 of different lengths, and put that together. I could map them, I'm not a graphic designer.
And we can put that on our website?
I'd like to,
What?
Why don't you think about putting some money into the, hopefully, the name tourism division budget for mapping?
that would be, yeah. I mean, when I'm thinking
For the
here,
upcoming-
this
I
would,
don't know what's in the budget now, but you're gonna need money to do this,
Yeah.
you just can't, we've gotten very, very far up to the point of, being able to do something without money.
I wanna make a phone call tomorrow and see if I can't get some money for this.
You need somebody, well, you need somebody to do it.
The flag looks
you know,
good,
Put it together, and
the
the
Mexican
graphics.
flag.
And,
I was at
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow up with Robert Clinton tomorrow,
We
Tomorrow.
don't, you just don't have a lot of those
because
hanging
I
around.
started with him.
No, I get it.
But that was
Just
my
worried
assignment
because it
last
Because
time.
that funding now goes through, the small funding. It now is you go online to do that.
Even for the small funding, he can't just say,
No, he can, because I just met with him the other day.
Oh, okay.
He's still doing small stuff without going through the process.
I mean, what do we need, $1,000?
I don't know, Stan.
what you're printing.
You know what, I would,
This thing
instead of
I
making your
propose-
phone call tomorrow, why don't we get information pulled together?
Okay,
So
You're
that
talking
we-
about calling who?
Robert?
Robert, and
Let me just say something. This is a city function. This committee is a city function.
right.
And Freeport has made it very clear that they have X amount of dollars a year to provide to the city. They've changed their procedures. and that they want a wish list from the city as to what their priorities are for those dollars.
And
so-
when we're ready, then we'll turn to you and say, this is our wish list, and see if that works into your.
That's fine, I'm just saying
That would be the
that
process.
we promised Robert that we won't have all these committees and divisions that keep coming
Okay,
to him.
so that's the process that we'll use?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sorry, but that's what we need to do.
that works. Let's do this. Let's move forward with this, and then see by our next meeting if we have some idea of what something like this would cost.
If I can make another suggestion,
Sure.
Stanley, is if you can get an estimate of how much it's gonna cost, then there might be other funders available. APS is an example,
Good.
Southwest Gas is an
And they could be
example.
on the brochure, that would be.
Correct. So,
How many copies
they're big
of
into
things?
those kind of,
And bigger than the environment type things?
oh, APS, absolutely. So that would be my suggestion, but they're gonna want a figure
Right.
to buy
And
something.
they're gonna wanna know what we're buying for that figure.
Yes, sir.
I can put together a quote that has design, printing quantities, like the cost of printing for information, so when you go, I think I got a $2,000 APS grant that they provide, but it was printing, it was
Yep.
things like
Mhm.
that, so if you want. I can-
Something where they can promote themselves too.
Right, it'll be on
The
there.
Silver Springs Valley Electric Cooperative is another source.
Yeah.
You know, there may even be a couple of real estate agents in
Are you
town
gonna do
who
that,
wanna
Jen?
do something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I can send it to Stephanie.
You know what I'd like to use as a template? Just that Tucson, like Tucson, and copy it and make it like Bisbee. Do you like, that's a nice little pamphlet, isn't it? And it's widely distributed, it's, I can get a copy of it for you, Jen. Okay.
Well, as you pointed out, that one of our obviously points for distribution is where the bicycle community goes.
Mhm.
All right, we're started. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next agenda item because, thank you very much. You did your assignment quite well. I mean, we're rolling and we're starting, good.
It was fun.
Okay, I next want to move to an update on the beta test for Slack and the pricing model.
I don't have a pricing model.
Okay,
I thought about it, I've got all the information I need to get the pricing model. I don't have the time to spend on going into a pricing model if we don't have anybody participating. One thing is gonna drive the other.
right, exactly.
And right now, we have maybe 4 people that are on it, that communicate, Morgan and I. We met last week, 2 weeks ago, and Morgan and I both had a couple of good ideas, and that was to meet people on the streets, interview them,
Yeah.
ask them what they think about Bisbee and their experience in Bisbee. And since then, both he and I have just been swamped. We've got more people in town this year than we have.
It's
last
more
That's a good
important
thing,
than
that's a
it's
good
one.
thing.
Because that's a
year.
good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally swamped.
Okay, I
I
know you are.
I love doing intercept interviews.
Yeah,
I
and if anybody would like to help out, I mean, Morgan he's in the same boat I am. We're both working behind the counter. Usually about 8-10 hours a day. So
Are you looking for we'd have to do a formal survey and co-op
it's
that to
actually
intercept.
no, it's actually just a quick Instagram video, right?
Oh,
And we put it up and we interview them on the street. First, we ask them if they'd like to be interviewed. We ask them 3 simple questions: what brought you to Bisbee? What do you see? What do you like about Bisbee? And what would you change about Bisbee? And those 3 prying questions would open up probably all the information that we needed to have. And then we'd be able to put that on Slack. That would get eyes on Slack, so that people would say, "Hey, what's going on in Slack?" It's just a matter of going out, taking the time to take the videos, and then it wouldn't be a lot. There's no editing because it's a live video. We just have to get the permission to put it on Slack.
So you wouldn't randomly select people then, you
No.
you want so many emails, families, whatnot?
Yeah, you just find.
You get the
somebody
guy in
emailing-
shorts and white legs.
Yeah, you say we're doing an interview for the local merchants association. We'd like to ask a few questions about your experience in Bisbee. But it just takes time to go out there and do that work.
I would like that kind of work.
We just have.
Do you like to do this?
I do, I've
the
done
time.
plenty of them, and it's really fun.
I think, so both he and I agree that what Slack needs is a catalyst, some catalyst or tipping point that is going to start the conversation that makes going on Slack worthwhile. Now, in our own business, obviously I've stated this before, it works. It's like a dream come true. It is the greatest thing to ever happen to our business. It's difficult to apply that to the business community because, you know, our community of 85 people are just, you know, it's business, so we rely on it because, like, for instance, half the kids don't even have data plans, but on their phones they have Wi-Fi. So as long as they're in the business or within Wi-Fi, they can Slack all day long. So they're slacking to all their friends, and they're creating their own little channels, slacking to their friends. And so we create a community within the community, and it's working brilliantly. I just don't know how to transfer
You know,
it.
First time you encourage employees to slack off.
Yeah, exactly.
but you know, seriously, it's like how often would a merchant be using it? It's not operational. You know, we're not,
You're right.
we're not operational
Yeah, you're right.
together.
You're
We
right.
have our own operation going. And a lot of our merchants are older,
Mhm.
you know, and that does, some of them have flip phones.
Well, we got, this is a 90,
You know, they do.
this is a 90-day
It's true.
plan. This is a 90-day plan, and I'm still committed to
Yeah.
showing the worth if anybody is willing to get on there. I had a wine night that I sponsored last week, but got busy, but I still had no takers, even though there was a case of Camus waiting in my office.
You
I
didn't
said-
post
I
that.
said
I saw that.
expensive cab in my office Wednesday night at 5:30 for anybody interested
That's
in
right.
coming out.
And you said, no doubt it'd be just you and Morgan.
Exactly, that's what it was. I called Morgan, I said, are you coming? He says, yeah. I said, listen, I'm coming
Oh,
back
you
to
did?
Tucson, and I'm
Oh,
swamped,
yeah,
and I'm not gonna make it back. He says, look, it's okay, I'm swamped too. We'll do it next Wednesday. And I said, you know, nobody came back on Slack. Do you think if they knew it was Candace, they would have come? He said, yeah.
So we're now running into people power.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's a people power problem. It's also, I mean, I take it personally. I'd like to see this thing get off the ground. I'd like to be responsible for at least getting a little groundswell, but honestly, I just don't have the answer.
Do you have any, where do we get people to do the survey of tourists?
That's Stephanie and I. She's a people
You wanna
person.
do
She
that?
is.
I like intercept interviews.
Some people.
Did you know what the research shows? People are more apt to agree to an interview from a female.
Yes, absolutely agree.
Do you
Absolutely
wanna
agree.
do this?
I would love to do it, and I do it over a couple weekends, don't you think?
Okay, yeah. I'd be happy to help too.
Okay.
Rob, just don't wear your overcoat, okay?
No,
Rob,
I'll be the tag.
But we'd have to, okay.
Stephanie, you'll coordinate with Rob then?
Yeah, I know you're slammed.
No, I can do
But
it.
now
Okay.
figure out how to.
If I have help.
People that-
I know, it's one of those things.
Extremely intimidating.
All right, so what we're gonna do then, we're gonna do some interviews of the tourists using those 3 questions. Nathan, you have the 3 questions down?
Rob.
They're on the,
They're on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then move out, how many interviews do we need to make this work?
Well, I think it's as many as it takes to get people involved. And I'll tell you where this came from is Morgan and I both went over the suggestions from Arizona Local First. And we went down all the list of the things that AZ Local said, you know, these are the things we should be considering. And Morgan had never seen it, so I sent it over to him to talk about it. He said, I wonder if the merchants would be interested in knowing what people actually think if it's posted in a social media format that's only limited to merchants, and only merchants can see it. Now, we're not trying to call anybody out, and that's where the tenderness comes. But I think people would be, merchants especially, would be interested to know what the people on the street are saying.
Yes.
I think, and it's just one idea of getting people onto Slack. The other one, obviously, I mean, for us, I put Google reviews and Yelp reviews in our general category every morning. And oh my gosh, the buzz storm that creates, good and bad. Because oh my gosh, if you forgot to wait on that table and you messed up their order and you were the server and you're being called out in general, then you've got some explaining to do. And everybody gets on board, and it's created a team environment now where everybody goes and starts explaining what's going on.
Okay, so Stephanie's gonna coordinate with you.
Mhm.
Sounds like you guys are gonna coordinate both on trails and, because
Mhm.
we're obviously,
Yeah,
You right away.
we're obviously
Doing the
hitting,
trails.
we're obviously hitting spots that we're
Yeah.
both highly interested in, okay. Then I wanna move on, so the beta test is now continuing, only it's, you know, it's what a beta test does,
Mhm.
just checking on things. Okay. Next, now we get into the heavy duty stuff. At last count, unless neither of you have a better count, we had 34 applicants for the director of tourism job.
For the second,
But that was a week and a half ago, or
No,
it's
no,
still
no,
listed,
no.
right?
No, this was a count we had,
You told me that last week.
then at the end of the week, because I think I told you right after I got it, yeah.
and this is for the upgraded position?
This is for the upgraded position, there's 34, and probably 34 plus now. And what we did, we sent that out to the tourism community, and that's where we're getting a number of our responses from. Before Dan Duche left this deployment of the city, we set out to hit areas where we knew people who were interested in tourism would be going.
What's the closing date on this?
It's open until filled.
Good.
Okay.
What's the closing date?
None, open till filled.
Open till close, okay. And now, what's gonna happen, I talked to Ashley Coronado, she's gonna sit down and she's enlisted the help of the public affairs person for the county, who used to be the director of Chamber of Commerce in Sierra Vista. To help
Amanda
her go-
Bailey.
Huh?
Oh,
Amanda
Amanda.
Bailey.
Oh, yeah,
Yay.
Amanda.
To help her go through
I trust that.
and take first cut at the resumes that came in. And then she will give those to Steve Palkin, and I know that David's gonna indicate that we want to have, and when we get to the finalists,
We need
to have a business community reviewing some of the finalists, suggesting as we do for the city manager's job. And I think there are several people from Bisbee who have applied, according to,
Sherry Morgan, I think, was,
I don't know, but
There's several.
I haven't asked for names.
Is that the cookie lady?
No.
Okay. Now, so that's the update on that, and that's continuing, and we should begin to, by our next meeting, have more definitive about how many candidates there really are there, where there's substance in their resumes to continue to look forward. So we'll set that for our next meeting's agenda. Now we come to the difficult stuff. I wanted to move on to a discussion of possible action, a recommendation to mayor and council for an increase in the bed tax.
we already had that discussion.
I'm putting it on the agenda.
Oh, good.
You're putting on the agenda,
I am. It's going on the next agenda. My proposal for the council to discuss is a 5% bed tax with 1 cent on the PSPRS. So what that,
What is it right now? Just, I'm sorry.
it's 3 and going to, back to
2.5.
2.
3.5 going to 2.5.
2.5,
Wait,
right.
wait.
Did you check the legality of taking the bed tax and putting it to something else?
Yeah, it's being checked. That's my
I don't
proposal.
think the way it's written that can be done.
Well, I'm not sure that's why our lawyers are looking at it.
Okay.
Okay, now-
If not, then I'll be asking for the 4%, which brings back the 1% that we're losing,
Mhm.
Right.
plus 1.5%.
An easy way to look at it, so we don't get caught up in ourselves, is each percentage point is worth $40,000 of revenue to the city. That's an easy way to look at it. So what we're doing is talking about raising $160,000 plus by increasing it. And it depends on, obviously, the utilization of our hotels and B&Bs and things.
Well, we had this discussion before, but Doug just, I guess when it went to go to
It
the council,
blew
it flip-flopped.
up, it blew up. And you're looking at going to election when?
August.
August, taking it to election in August?
Yeah.
It has to be, the county has to be notified by April 29th.
Where,
Okay,
that's why it's on the next agenda.
very good.
Well, that made that easy.
Well, well,
I didn't mean to trump you, I just, it was,
Do you want a letter from the
pardon me, I was talking about cards.
Do you want a letter from the iBisbee committee to put in with the materials to go to council?
No, I think that, I don't, I mean, you can if you wish. It's certainly not gonna hurt, but if one of you just came and got up and called to the public and said, hey, we support this is important to us, probably has the same effect. As a matter of fact, some of the council don't read their packets, so this would be a better.
This is the meeting, what date?
This would be the second,
Yes.
April 2.
April 2nd.
April 2nd
We
meeting?
can do that. Certainly indicate, I like by doing it 1% equals $40,000. It makes it easier for people to understand. And
I'll have a ruling on the PSPRS. And 40 grand is an absolute drop in the bucket,
Yeah.
nevertheless, it is at least,
showing
Was that interest payment for 13 days or something?
the, yeah.
so if that were done,
What comes out of that, by the way, will be the director's salary, advertising. Jen, talk to me, what's our dates for the matching money from the county, from the state and things?
Yeah. They'll
Where
put it-
are we approaching here?
Well, they'll put it out generally end of May, first part of June. You only have about 3 weeks to make all your decisions. So it's finalized done by the end of June, which then ties into then this fiscal year. I mean, when it starts here for the city too. It happens real fast though. They don't give you very much time at all.
So somebody needs to have their feet on the ground
So
before
they
they
don't
start
see it
writing
until
those.
June though. And we don't know what's being offered. If it's
Right.
all digital now, if it's some print. And typically you can go generally up to 50,000 collectively. Sometimes they change that number too, for Google, depending on how much money they have available from the state.
Okay.
And then anything left over is what we had used in the past for other advertising campaigns.
generally, we've been funded for the proposal that we've put into AOT.
It's generally 35,000,
Generally
maybe 40,000.
35,000, so they match it, so it bumps us
Mhm.
to free 35 for us. But it's targeted to certain areas.
They tell you what you can and
Right.
can't
Yeah.
do.
It's getting more and more electronic, but it still is, there's certain kinds of magazines and newspapers and stuff like that that you have to spend that money on.
Maybe the cyclist is.
Jen, I don't know how, are you active in that now?
Well, it's been set up, so whatever's been done, but.
No, I know, I had a meeting with Amanda this week about that, and they're getting ready to rebrand, so.
Oh, for the county? Yeah, no, I'm not active in that at all.
Yeah, they wanna, they're getting away from the old west, cowboys and Indians.
Smart,
Yeah.
honestly.
We were ahead of them.
There's this yes,
They acknowledge
lifestyle.
that,
Yeah, lifestyles what they're looking at.
yeah, they definitely acknowledge that.
And I think another portion of it, the advertising money would go to the Cochise County Tourism Council.
Mhm.
And I don't know what's happening with that, I think that's shifting. So 10,800 would go from this advertising budget, and I don't know if that's gonna be continued. Cause it seems like there's some shift happening over there.
One of the things we're gonna have to do, Jen, depending when the city hires the director of tourism, we may damn well need your serious help, because
That's,
if we get a pop and the state comes out and we don't have a tourism director, we don't wanna lose that money. I mean, we're gonna have to coordinate with you a lot.
I think there's
Yeah,
funds in there to contract,
There's stuff, there's funds in the
to contract
In
with
the
Yeah.
district center
administrators.
budget, I think,
We're
that
there.
could cover
Yeah.
for consulting.
Good for consulting,
and I've offered
Yeah,
that,
we
yeah.
should be okay on that.
because, you know,
Well, it's well worth it if it helps fast track the new person.
So,
Right.
my suggestion, David, is bringing, if you bring this up, I think you should get a letter from the iBisbee committee to offer it a more broader.
Great.
And the second thing is, it has to be really, really emphasized, this is nothing out of residents' pockets.
Yeah.
Not Sue, And it's not anything out of the general fund. It goes straight into, well, PRPS goes out into the general fund.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem I'm.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we'll check on that.
That's why he's.
We'll check on it, Fred, I'm not married to that,
It's been suggested before, I know.
that's all, it's a feel-good thing more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Do you wanna write that letter, Stanley?
I'm gonna ask for Fred's help on.
Would it be better to write a letter and send it to Ashley and have her disseminate it in letter form rather than putting it in the middle of a 100-page packet? I mean,
David, tell us what you'd like, and then we'll do it, because, you know, you're putting on.
A letter and it going with the packet probably is
but that packet's huge.
Well, it's gotta go to the council, it's a letter from the.
Well, I know, but
iBisbee
you
to the
can do
council.
it as just an email letter anytime, and then it's just one thing. that
David,
they're looking
tell us
at.
what you'd like to have done.
It doesn't matter, if they're gonna read it, they're gonna read it, whichever.
I think they'd be more likely to read
Fred,
it
can
as
you
one
help me on
page
that?
than 100.
That's fine, I'm not gonna,
I've just found they've read more if I do it that way.
We'll,
Put it in the
okay,
packet.
we've got a lot accomplished tonight. Stephanie, you picking up the ball on some stuff, and we're grateful for that. I've invited Jen to come to our meeting, and I'd like Jen to be on our committee, but Jen knows that that's a standing offer, and I cleared it with the mayor. So Jen is debating whether she's
I got all
gonna be.
excited when I saw her tonight.
You got excited?
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Well, she was gracious enough to say, yes, I'll come, Stan.
Are we
And,
done?
Here we go. I'll now entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'd like to,
I wanna say one thing about,
if we have a call to the public, so that I can bring up a couple points here.
Sure.
I think it's on the agenda.
You can bring up the
Yeah,
points.
Sunny Bets.
Okay, well, two things, just, these are FYIs. Davis Road, we brought it up a couple times today. There's gonna be, the biggest vineyard in Arizona is going in on Davis
Yes.
Road.
Huh. On Davis
And-
Road?
Yep,
Okay.
and I believe they're even started clearing, as I understand.
Neighbors movement.
Equine wines.
Uh-huh.
Neighbors movement.
Equine.
That's
What's going in?
The biggest vineyard in Arizona,
Wine.
grapes.
Grapes.
No, I know, I used to drink a lot of wine.
I still
You and I have been known to do that.
Yeah, we've been known to
do. But that's an
drink wine.
urban land thing. That's what they were
That's
talking
neat,
about.
that is an open land. Well, you were set in our meeting when we went through the ULI
Yeah.
project, this is one of the things.
Yeah, well, there's a guy that's got the financial,
Yeah, maybe
Back
they'll
in-
want a tasting room in Bisbee.
well, I'm working on that. And just FYI, since we had that meeting, Meet the Mayor meeting that you all put together, and we had some really interesting, I thought, conversation about chambers and et cetera, it became very clear to me that the business community doesn't want to start a chamber. But what I have done, for those that want it, it's a take it or leave it, but the Hispanic Chamber is going to be coming to Bisbee. They've got 9 members right now. They're going to have a get-together at Roca, and can talk about the benefits of it. One great benefit of it for small business owners are that they have joined with Tucson Chamber. And first of all, they're the second biggest chamber in Arizona.
Is this the Tucson Hispanic Chamber?
Yes.
Okay.
And they are, if not the fastest, they're in the top 2 fastest growing chambers in the country. And they are offering health insurance through United Health, which is a big deal for small business. So there's some benefits to joining for some businesses just to be able to get cheaper health insurance because it's such a big pool.
And when are they?
We're working on that probably at the end of April.
But they're opening a Bisbee branch of the Hispanic, is that what
We
you're saying?
have the Tucson Hispanic.
Right, I'm familiar.
We have the Tucson Hispanic in Sierra Vista and in Douglas, and we will have one here.
So it's just gonna be Bisbee merchants, but they're helping facilitate it?
Well, right, but, I mean, somebody from Sierra Vista can join. They have members now in Cananea. They have merchants in Cananea and other locations in
Sounds like kind
Mexico.
of like a satellite system.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so we would hope that down the road they have a storefront here. And I discussed also that I'm gonna be working with them in getting Camp Naco as a location for a get-together. We're gonna pull generators down there and light up the buildings at night and have a cross-border meet and greet there. So, anyway, Dan Valle is in charge of that, and he will be, he may be contacting some of you to say, hey, is this something you are interested in? So I'm not like selling him a list or anything, but he's asked for some top business owners to, so that they can start making contact. So if anybody at this table doesn't want their email given out to him, let me know. Otherwise, you may be getting an email. And like I said, it's the Sierra Vista. I mean, it's a great organ, and the
Sierra
Gallows.
Vista have a chamber now?
Yeah, they do.
Oh yeah, but the Hispanic chamber is
Since Amanda's left, it's not as good.
no. No, the Hispanic chamber is the very busy one in Sierra Vista. So that's all the announcements I had. Thank you.
Gary, you have an announcement?
Yeah. Remember these 3 signs for the Arts and Culture District? Well, Group of us went out today, and we, hopefully starting Monday, we identified locations to put the signs up. And we were also looking at, we were told no stop signs and no speed limit signs. So we actually found quite a bit of opportunities going in areas where we didn't expect, if we can use the alternative. And one of the things we have to talk to the city about is the telephone poles that have the banners, that hold the banners, and that has that little lever that sticks out. We're looking at a bunch of those on Main Street, Lower Main, and also between the Convention Center and Grassy Park.
You need to, can you get the poll numbers? Because then I can talk to APS, they're not city polls. But
Okay.
I can talk to APS to get permission if I have the poll numbers.
Okay, I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it
Well,
out.
there's a tag on them, Carol.
Okay. But this is what we're suggesting, and so hopefully starting Monday morning, you'll see them going up. We have some that are going to be creative, we have to figure out how to get them up. We are going to ask the city if they would consider installing 2 poles, because there's a huge, especially around Castle Rock,
Yeah.
there's a huge area that has virtually nothing. And to move one no parking pole, that there's 2 of them by the loading zone by the women's club, to move it down to, well, I'll ask for their permission to their entrance. And so that's what we did. And the second thing was the lighting Grassy Park, the contract was awarded to a local guy, and he will probably be starting in May after the busy season.
Who's doing it?
Todd Conklin.
He's sure getting a lot of contracts, wow.
He does good work.
Yeah, well, he's done work for me.
Sure, right.
There was just something about the Arizona Office of Tourism. They are revamping how they, the applications for a destination marketing organization, DMOs. That's something that we need to pay attention to, the city needs to pay attention to. I don't expect it's too much different, but if we are, as some of us want to do, doing away with the visitor center and making the visitor information office the actual DMO, then we need to pay attention to that.
Moving the visitor
So
center
we'd
down
have
to
to
the
move
museum.
it, so there was more room, yeah.
Well, I heard
There's
from
not
David
enough
Russell
room.
today that they're not required to have regional anymore.
They might
They're
not
really
be
focusing on local.
on local stuff, so that's,
But one thing, this is one thing I'd like to bring up, since the chamber was paying for the weekend.
Since it's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it, I'm sorry.
So we need to put that on next week then, or so, next month or something.
You're right.
and then the other thing I wanted, point of information, do you know when budget talks are gonna begin?
April 8th.
April 8th?
I'm going.
Lucky you. We have a city manager to do it.
So this group does not meet till the 3rd week in April,
Right.
so that's
What are you thinking, Fred?
Well, I think there's some suggestions that I would hope to come from the iBisbee committee, and that is, one of them would be the destination.
Since it's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But don't they usually have those in segments?
Mhm.
Is there a segment for under economic development?
They haven't given me that yet.
Um,
They haven't given me
So we want the
that
tourism
specific
thing,
segments are.
prejudice and all
I just know
that.
when it starts.
Okay, our meeting's on April 19th. We'll obviously put this stuff on the agenda and then move from there, because
Can I ask about-
unless we think we need a special meeting.
Just,
Yes.
I had a
April
couple things.
19th is a Friday.
It's April 17th.
April 17th, I didn't have my glasses on, I'm sorry.
Can we also possibly discuss at some point the parking issue in Old Bisbee and Airbnbs? I think that, I don't know what's going on, but there are so many cars in town, and I'm not saying,
Let me just, I don't wanna cut you off, but you're asking for an
I'm
agenda
asking-
item, and
I'm
you're gonna get it,
asking-
but you don't need,
I'm asking if it could go on
Yes.
a
Yeah, it
future
could go on the
agenda.
agenda.
yeah.
Yeah,
It could go on the
I'm sorry,
agenda
I'm
for
not
next
trying
meeting.
to,
no, it's just,
No,
there's
no,
weird
no.
stuff going on downtown. I don't,
I know, I had a guest in town, I can relate to that. Thank God he was staying at Fred's, and
Fred's got parking.
parking. Any other comments? Everything going on, we always discuss anything going on in Bisbee.
Alice in Bisbee land is next
When is
month.
that?
Next month.
Downtown looked very busy, restrooms were packed.
It looks busier than it is. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Again, you have to be careful with conversation, Len is right, we don't want to get her in trouble.
No, but we always discuss,
What we're gonna put on the agenda.
we discuss what goes on agenda, we also discuss how businesses in town at every one of our meetings.
Yeah.
so I think, talking to lodging people for the last half of 2018, businesses down anywhere from 0.5% to 8%. In the last half of 2018, the first half was equal to 2017. And that's talking to five of the major lodging, with the exception of the Copper Queen. I can say at Roca, we have not been as busy this spring as we have in past springs. I can say for my inn, I had like the 5th best February. I'm having the best March I've ever had, though. I'm right at 91.5% occupancy. So my feeling is that there is less tourism going on. I understand that there's more traffic and stuff, but I think that there is less tourism going on, but it's really, really hard to quantify.
The retailers are all behind. I'm 14% behind year to date.
Marilis at Pantera said that she's down year over year, month over month last year. Too. So
That's why the
I'm
cars
not-
are weird.
one month's trends are really, it doesn't really make too much difference in 1 month, but quarterly trends, I think by the end of March and stuff, I'm gonna try to go around to people and just ask them generally, people are really, they seem to not understand the value of quantitative statistics to be able
A
to
lot of
see
people
what's
don't
going
even know
on.
what they did last year,
So-
you know?
The museum, if you take January, February 18, or 19 to 18, we're at 5% in both the admissions and store.
You're up 5%, from 18 to 17,
No, from 19 to 18.
from 19 to 18.
And in 18 to 17, we were up too.
We were
We have
way up
this
last year,
the
but
slight little growth, it's not a huge
Okay.
growth, but it's always been uphill.
Okay.
that's what I was hoping for, but it's not happening, and it's not happening with other retailers
My
I've
shop's
talked
just the
to.
same, it's not.
But you moved to a bigger space, so you would expect to see it, yeah.
may I make a suggestion, and you have a standing item on your agenda then that says,
We do.
Yeah, we do. It's
It's
on
your
there.
roundtable discussion on current events by members.
Current economic
Okay.
events. So stretching.
You guys are
Stretching it.
You're skating, you're skating.
It's called a round table discussion. The way that we go around the table.
It's a square table, a rectangle.
Okay,
I'm a little more sensitive about this than most.
I'll have a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
All people who would like to have Jen on our committee?
Aye.